Try to get this time.
Oh, nice. What do we have here last time?
Yep, there they are.
Yeah, I was always.
That's Fred. Oh, wait, remember I have that.
But.
Very clear job description. Yeah.
Did you tell your client? Well, that's not there. I think we're these. That's why.
Here goes library.
No. I want you.
Well, then, what the hell are we gonna do?
I'm gonna ask you. My concern about they showed us the last time.
You guys know each other?
By the way.
You bailed on us. Oh, the nice. It's supposed to be frosty. Yeah. He didn't say, right, I just think you were through everything.
Wood off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm playing golf. Yeah, it's on Saturday. I'll have.
I might sit out.
But I used to set a mission.
Everybody's.
23.
I have.
Yeah.
On the channel. Yeah.
It's a dog track.
I can't like this.
Yeah, but it's really cool.
So my brother is on the plane.
Like, well, something else.
Yeah, email.
Nice talk. Very nice.
Yeah, I put it down. I would say.
You guys say you're a really good person.
Don't say.
Better.
Really? Okay. I was in my head. Well, I never noticed how, maybe they're not aware of what. Maybe everybody's not. What is it?
Right now? Okay, this is for now. There we go. Oh, there we go. I think he's not gonna figure it. Well, David.
Yeah, I appreciate really.
That's what she did. Like.
Yes, it's being ignored. I guess a little bit late.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
They had a. Well, the only matter style.
It's funny too.
I thought that.
I'm not sure this is. I love things first. I
I was 8, so.
Every
But then he failed up, I guess.
It's not shaking.
So young.
I heard that 1,000 times.
So, we're in. Well, we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another.
No. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, case number one, Z 21, 26, 1100 Saint Road.
Before we begin, please note that we received one letter in opposition from the producing paper regarding the fuel sales as an allowable use of the site. That letter is in your supplemental packet. 2.25 acre site consists of 11 parcels, developed with a mix of uses, including single unit dwellings, auto sales, and a billboard, all in the R rural district. The applicant requests a CPD commercial plan development district distinguished into two sub-areas to allow future commercial development. Sub-area A allows limited C4 uses, including auto sales and fuel sales. Sub-area B allows limited C4 uses and fuel sales. North and west of the site are single unit dwellings in the R rural district. South of the site are industrial uses in the N manufacturing district. East of the site is the directed beverage establishment in the NC neighborhood commercial district in Franklin Township. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Southwest Area Commission, which recommends community commercial and low density residential land uses at this location. Additionally, the plan includes early adoption of CTP2 design guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Southwest Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The CPD text includes use restrictions for sub-area A and sub-area B, and supplemental development standards addressing lot coverage, traffic access, roadway improvements, future road contribution, and commitments to community commercial overlay development standards. The text also includes a commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan. The proposed CPD commercial plan development district will allow limited commercial development with auto sales and fuel sales within 2 subareas. The proposed CPD allows uses that are consistent with the Southwest Area Planning recommendation for community commercial land uses and includes commitments to develop the site with CCO development standards. Upon additional information received by the Franklin County Engineer's Office, there is expected to be further refinement of the necessary contributions for future roadway improvements along Frank Road in the vicinity of Brown Road and Hardy Parkway Street. The contributions will be incorporated into the CPD text before going to City Council, and at this time, City Department's recommendation is approval.
Okay. That's it. Traffic issues.
The traffic impact study has been approved for this application. That study assumed that the site would be developed with a 4,000 square foot fast food restaurant with drive-through and a 915 position fuel sales with 6,000 square feet of convenience store space. Based on those uses, the county has followed up that the contribution would be about $437,000. Based on that information, discussions are in progress with the applicant. Additional refinement with that amount should the site be developed with less intense uses.
Right now, the meeting time is 4:37.
This is 437, 574.4.
Okay, Chris.
No further comments from planning.
Okay, anyone here to speak regarding case number 1? Okay. Jack, you want to add anything?
Oh, if you noticed, the case number is 21. We started a long time ago and we ran into a number of buzzsaws. I think I annexed this property into the city of Columbus in 2019. The problem was the property owner needed water and sewer in order to develop the property. And so we started down the process of annexing and ultimately rezoning. We've had people look at the property. The first buzzsaw we ran into was the county decided a couple of years ago that this intersection was ripe for a roundabout. And so it took us a couple of years to let the county tell us that it was going to be a 2-lane roundabout with another roundabout just to the east of us. And so once we started, the first traffic study was just for a line interchange. And so we had to go back and start all over again because now we had a new roundabout that he's got theirs, that we were now dealing with. So that took us a couple more years to settle that. That will negatively impact the property that we're rezoning today ultimately because there will need to be a take by the county of some of our property. What you're looking at is there are 11 lots. The sub-area A in the county, the county has guidelines. That was a community service zoning classification, which is their highest zoning classification. Then the next four lots, and the one to the north, a sub area B or A, were all zoned community commercial. Then the last four lots were zoned rural. So we went ahead because 1429 owned all 11 lots, and that's what's before you today. We're seeking what was originally on the property, community service, community commercial, and those last four lots we're putting in the community commercial zoning classification under the city standards. If we had brought this before you, the city, right after we annexed it, the city would have recognized that there was a CC and a CS that were on the property before we annexed it. I think you're going to hear from our neighbors. If Tim or Joe would show you that on the site today, there is an old gas station that has been there historically for a long time. It went out of business. It is now being used as a car lot. There's a certified gas station catty corner to us. That's on the south side of Frank Road. So again, this is a commercial corridor, many traffic generated uses along this corridor. We're simply trying to replicate what was originally approved by the county and brought to the city of Columbus. So that's what we're up to. I can answer.
More speaker, and then we'll bring back to the tape.
Hi. My name's Don Parsons, and I'm speaking for myself and Barbara Parsons. We live at 1253 Marsdale Avenue. We're the residential property just to the north of the site. You can see it on the map where it touches the site to be redeveloped. I'm sure you guys all see that. Our house is right behind, to the north of section B. Do you guys see that? Okay, that's the large parcel, and that property there in the past historically had never had a fuel cells use. And because fuel contains dangerous chemicals known to the World Health Organization and Ohio EPA as being known carcinogenics that are known cancer causers, we're opposed to the fuel use. As far as it goes as the community commercial or stores and whatever, we would not have an objection for that, but the fuel use is why I'm really here on the objection in the area, the large area of the B having a fuel use that would be right behind our home. That could, it's been proven, can cause cancer within 300 to 500 feet. Our property's right next to the property that is to be redeveloped and rezoned. And that's a big concern to us because we certainly don't want our property values diminished or have a risk of acquiring cancer by them building a fuel station at that location. We do understand that there historically was a fuel station in subsection A, but that was it's not been used for many years. It is being used now as a car lot, like Mr. Reynolds had stated. But that's why I have an objection to the rezoning, because we wouldn't want anything that would injure our health or cause my family to have some kind of fatal disease being built right next to our home.
Okay, thank you for comments. Okay. Where would that gas main operate? situation be relative to that property?
Right now, we have no idea because we don't have a user. Our problem has been and is that we've got a piece of property that's zoned rural. And we are having a hard time marketing the property when you've got a rural designation on it. We're here simply asking for what was previously approved on the property. I can't say that there would ever be a fuel sales there. It could be anything from A to Z. But we need a designation that is attractive to purchasers so that we can get people interested in buying the property. And again, we can't tell you who the ultimate user would be simply because we've had a hard time marketing. And again, if you see the site plan up there, we're also limited to curb cuts at the north end of Brown, right up there on, you can see the little curb cuts at our north property line. And then the other curb cut would be down on Frank Road at the very end of our sub area B. And once again, we're only allowed a right in and right out there. So, we're already finding the property a little less attractive based on the fact that you've only got right in and right out on both ingress and egress points on Brown and Frank Road. So we're working with a lot of negatives. But again, the first thing that we need is the ability to market it. And simply one of the uses that was permitted was fuel sales. And there historically has been a gas station on the site.
Well, old gas stations had one kind of things. Now you got
Yeah, I think it's a different world today.
you've got pretty intense use on the front. Right now with residents behind. That's.
Correct.
If the residences change, hold their hands and put another commercial use, it would be less of a contract.
Correct.
I would say it would be reasonable to suggest you create in the text that in the case you introduce a new fuel operation, you have no choice about the double tank and
Yes. Yes.
the actions that are required now. That's a given.
Yes.
But I would like you to have a commitment that if an fuel sales operation would happen on this property,
Okay.
still residents behind it, put an opaque 6-foot high fence
Yeah.
along that east property. Just a part of the.
That's in the text
Right?
already.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole different world today.
And they have to go through considerable.
Correct. Gas station. Yeah. Yes. And again, it is all hypothetical today.
And your neighborhood commission voted 5-1 in favor.
That is correct.
Well, it takes a lot of nerve to go right next to the roundabout. So.
Let's say that we didn't ask for the roundabout.
Okay, anybody else have any comments? All right. Let's have a motion to take a vote. I need a motion to, okay, all those in favor? Okay, please call.
Maria Conway,
Yes.
John Huberson,
Yeah.
Dan Lubeck,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes. Okay, you're approved.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to case number 2.
All right.
These 24 that you can put
Yes,
7.
we've got this too.
55.
Mark, we've got, they've loaded it too.
Yeah.
So say that on the screens and put them doing. No. That's it.
The 21.06 acre site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the M manufacturing district. The applicant requests the LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District to allow a 408 unit apartment complex with a pool, clubhouse, and residential amenities. North of the site is the janitorial equipment supplier and an automotive manufacturer. East of the site is a car rental facility and a warehouse. West of the site is a nonprofit and an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and pool distributor and supplier. And to the south of the site is right-of-way for Dorchesville Road, all in the M manufacturing district. Concurrent council variant CV 24-079 has been filed to reduce the building setback and increase the height of private garages. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Westland Plan, which recommends industrial/manufacturing land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Westland Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The limitation text includes use restrictions, a maximum of 408 units, and includes commitments to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan and building elevations. Outstanding comments from the Division of Traffic Management include a traffic study in progress in conjunction with this application. Additional commitments or access revisions may be necessary based on the results of the approved traffic impact study. The Division of Traffic Management could support approval for this application at the Development Commission with resolution of any additional comments or traffic commitments associated with the pending traffic impact study to be addressed prior to City Council to gain our recommendation of approval for this application. The requested LAR1 apartment limited apartment residential district will allow the site to be developed with 408 unit apartment complex with residential amenities such as a pool, clubhouse, and a dog park. The proposed development is not consistent with the Westlands plan's land use recommendation for industrial/manufacturing uses at this location. The plan recognizes the site as part of an industrial office district and is within an established development pattern zone for manufacturing and commercial uses. The proposed residential use is inconsistent with the plan's recommendation. The city department's recommendation is for disapproval.
Okay, you were condition of approval, now you're disapproval. Disapproval. Okay, any comments about the staff's report? Dan, Bradley,
Nothing to add to the staff report.
Brian,
As noted, the planning is not in support based on the land use recommendation and the proposal. That's in consultation with our economic development division, in discussions with the applicant. Well, no,
what?
sorry. In discussions with the applicant and our economic development division, we continue to be not in support, but I'll add that they did, note the corner of the site is a job use, so that could be considered a mitigating factor.
Okay. Okay, Jeff, you want to add anything?
Yes, please. Jeff Brown with Smith and Hale.
Joe Thomas, Metro Development.
As usual, we've had a series of meetings and discussions, and assuming I can figure out how to do
You're doing
this.
a good job.
That's the site. And this property has been owned by a sophisticated investor company since 1987. As a matter of fact, they have developed or sold off at least 4 of the properties to the north of this site for development. So you have somebody who knows what they're doing and is shown to be successful in the area, but they still have this piece left over since 1987. And primarily the problem with this piece of property is there's a large body of water right in the middle of the site. And if you can kind of squint and look at that, you see what happens when you try to put 2 large industrial buildings on it. You got to make the water disappear. And that just doesn't work out economically or interest from buyers. And so our client looked at this piece of property. It's close to the freeway. It's close to Georgesville Square. There is bus access on Georgesville Road. And all of a sudden, what is a hindrance to the development in terms of having that long body of water in the middle of the site, all of a sudden becomes very beneficial for a residential development. So we went to Westland and presented what we were doing there. Westland supported the request. This site plan, which I would like you to include in your motion, is a result of the conversation with traffic. We initially had access along the service road out front, and they asked us to rework that. So this shows the revised access points. We sent a revised traffic study to the city and got a letter from Daniel back, I believe, this week. So we understand there are some additional technical issues that they want us to work through, and we'll have to maybe add some language in the text as we go forward before we go to city council. But we don't think that's a problem. You've seen this product before. I won't take up more time since you're doing 2 meetings tonight instead of 1. But 3-story, multifamily, great access, close to the interstate, a lot of job opportunities either to all around this site, whether you're interested in warehouse or industrial or retail or office in the area. It's places where you could bike to and make a lot of your needs, whether they're the grocery store or restaurants or everything. I wouldn't exactly walk along Georgesville, but as part of our development, you know, we're going to surround this site with sidewalks and connectivity both on the perimeter and within our own property. And that yellow piece of property there will maintain the existing zoning. And we, in an effort to work with planning, made that site slightly larger to make that a viable site for something in the future. But sophisticated investor, owned the property since '87. The area plan is 30 years old. We went to Westland, got their approval. It's affordable housing that the city council tells us every meeting that they need. So we think that's an appropriate use and would ask you to support this request.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 2? No one.
You said you're gonna,
Oh, yes.
you had mentioned the idea of surrounding it by sidewalks.
Well, there'll be internal.
Around there instead of
The bus stop, I think, is at the road to the left there, on that drawing. You would cross Georgesville, and I think it's the number 9 line that's there, so you can get to it. You have to get on the other side of Georgesville.
There's a signalized intersection.
Yeah, there's signalized on the east side. I think the one on the west is signalized, is it?
No, the intersection there, Bolton Field is.
Yeah, the one on the
Yeah.
road on the right is a signalized intersection.
Yeah. Bolton Field and Georgesville Road is a signalized intersection.
The unedited says that supervised manufacturer, what of manufacturing you foresee?
We have no idea. We are not buying that property. So the current owner would retain ownership of the yellow piece, orange piece.
I see this as an infill solution. Got 8-0 approval from the area commission. And, that pond, I've been running on these kinds of things, that pond would hold up industrial development for years, somebody even tried it. And it's been sitting here for 37 years. I think this is a case where the hardship is on the property. And, the planning commission that set this in motion almost 40 years ago. Not making what's going on now. So I think you've done a good job making use of this property and making tribute to the overall factory. Anybody else have a comment?
I just don't think it's, I mean, I think it's not like it's a transitioning here. I concur that, yeah, there are limits to what can possibly go in here. It does not feel like.
All right, well, and there's any other comments?
Could you include the revised site plan that doesn't show access to the service road, please?
And what is the date on that? Fine, very good.
It's all blurry.
So let's give it the date.
Today's date, yeah, we can, yeah, that'd be great.
We need a motion to approve the updated site plan, which eliminates the Georgesville Road connection. Second. All those in favor? Okay, now I need a motion to forward. Okay, Gene, all right, let's have a vote.
John Anderson,
Yes.
Dan McQuaid,
Yes.
Denise P. Shanklin,
Yeah.
Maria Conroy,
Yeah.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Case number 3, I need to refuse. John Davis.
Case number V24-025551 Shannon Road.
There were 2 letters of opposition. Please see your supplemental packet for those 2 letters of opposition for this case. The 24.46 acre site consists of 1 undeveloped parcel in the R rural district. Applicant requests the ARLD apartment residential low density district to allow a multi-unit residential development providing 312 dwelling units with a pool, clubhouse, and residential amenities. To the north, there are single-unit dwellings in the R residential district of Madison Township. To the south is a truss manufacturer in the M manufacturing district. East of the site are single-unit dwellings in the PUD 8 land unit development district. To the west is farmland in the R rural district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the southeast land use plan, which recommends low to medium density residential and private open space land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Concurrent Council Variance CV 24-076 has been filed, which includes variances to reduce the minimum required lot area in the R residential district and reduce the minimum required perimeter yard. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies Shannon Road as an urban community connector requiring 80 feet of right-of-way from center line. The proposed ARLD apartment residential low density district will allow multi-unit residential uses on the site. The southeast land use plan recommends low medium density residential, which recommends a density of around 6 to 10 dwelling units per acre and private open space. Although the density of the proposal exceeds the plan recommendation, planning staff notes that there are developments of similar intensity to the north of Shannon Road and therefore support the proposed use. Below are the outstanding comments from the Division of Traffic Management. A traffic access study has been approved in conjunction with this proposal. Commitments representing the results of the following will need to be incorporated into the rezoning and concurrent council variance ordinances. A contribution of $219,472.97 will be required for potential future roadway improvements at the intersection of Rice Road and Shannon Road. Discussions are in progress regarding the extent to which turn lane improvements at the site, access drive, and active transportation connectivity to the Blacklick Creek Greenway Trail will be required due to limited right-of-way available along Shannon Road. No structure shall be permitted to be built on the residual R district parcel, and direct access from the right-of-way shall be prohibited to that residual R district parcel. Upon resolution of the comments above, city department's recommendation can be for approval, and the city's department recommendation is for conditional approval.
Thank you. Dan, Brad, is that come up or less?
I have nothing to add to staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No further comments.
Do we have, do we have anyone here to speak on this case? Dave, do you want to add anything, or do you want to wait and hear what speaker?
Sure, I'll be reasonably brief. David Hodge, attorney for the applicant, and I'm not sure who's driving over here. If staff wants to flip back over to the site plan. This is a site that we worked very hard with the area commission through the process. You can see, or maybe surmise, that originally there was some environmental analysis that occurred out here to identify some wetlands areas. All of those are preserved throughout the site. You can see it's a limited building footprint area with all of the white areas on this version of the plan to be maintained in green space. So that's a pretty adequate, significant buffer along the north side of the property. Along the south side of the property, there's a single-family residential subdivision in the PUD 8 district on the east side of the property, and all of that is to be preserved in the existing trees and green space over there. We do show a connection down there at the southeast corner. That's a secondary emergency only that is bollarded off. Had extensive work with Daniel Moorhead and his team there at Traffic Management. Certainly understand the conditions of staff. We're going to meet those conditions and frankly, in some ways exceed those conditions, because the traffic analysis is somewhat ongoing in terms of what needs to happen here from a road perspective. But it's our expectation that the developer here is going to be making financial contributions to the city well in excess of the number in that staff report. That money is going to go into the city to be used to undertake some road improvements in the immediate vicinity. A series of meetings again with this area commission. Lots of work with a couple of immediately adjacent property owners. Grateful that staff is in support. Grateful that the area commission is in support after that series of meetings. And client Scott Hartley here with Vista. I don't know, Scott, if you have anything you'd like to add.
No, just one other quick note. As David alluded to, we've worked over the course of the last 6 months, really over the course of the last year, working with a neighbor directly adjacent to this property, as they had some improvements on this specific lot that we're doing the lot split on. And over the course of the last 90 days with the Southeast Area Commission, safety is a concern in Southeast Columbus, given the event that occurred towards the end of June, early July timeframe. We were tabled at the Greater Southeast Area Commission to encourage more security measures as part of this plan. So it was a very collaborative in nature, and we ultimately got the successful vote from the Greater Southeast Area Commission.
Yeah, there was a criminal situation that happened at an apartment complex months ago that raised some concerns. We committed to do lighting, flock safety, security patrol, et cetera, on the site to mitigate that concern from the commission. So I think we'll stop there and hear what the.
Come up, please, and take your name and let's figure what you have.
Hi, I am Randa Gallagher. I currently live at 4249 Port Watch Drive. So my house and a lot of others are going to be in front of, or this new property will be behind us. And I have a lot of problems with this. However, the traffic is the number one. Where I live, where this is going to go eventually, or potentially, is Shannon Road and Winchester Pike are both 2-lane roads. Every morning I go to work, the traffic is backed up from Hamilton Road to Shannon Drive. And it's a 2-lane. So the bottleneck is already there before these houses or these apartments are even going to be built. So my major issue is traffic. Obviously, Winchester Pike is the main road there to Shannon Drive. So that's going to be a huge issue. Adding more housing is just, unless there is a widening of the road, which I don't know how that's going to happen or how soon that's going to happen, the traffic is a huge issue. Secondly, the crime, as he alluded to, there has been a lot of crime in that area. And adding apartments to that area is only going to bring to my single home more crime. And there's just not enough police out there policing as it is. The noise right now is nice because I have wooded area in my backyard. But you know, bringing in more housing, more apartments is going to cause more noise. Privacy. I would like to know how far back from the, I think he stated that the tree line would not be disturbed, or that tree area would not be disturbed. Right now, the tree line is everything. It's protected the noise, it's protected the privacy in my area. And so I would like to know a little bit more about all of that and how much it's going to be taken apart, or if they're going to indeed leave that. And lastly, property values. We all have single homes in that area, and now we're potentially looking at putting apartments in there. So that's a huge concern of mine as well, is the property value of my new home I have. So that's why I oppose this. Sure, absolutely.
Chair Ingwerson, would it be okay if I just come over to this and point, and I'll try to project my voice, and yes, please leave the site plan up. So on the traffic issue, and certainly traffic is an issue here at the southeast portion of the town and lots of other places in town. And it's not an issue that this developer or really any developer has the right just to ignore, right? We file these applications, we submit a traffic study to Danny Moore and his colleagues, and undertake some analysis, and the developer is obligated to make road improvements to mitigate or offset the increase in traffic. In this case, there's been an ongoing discussion, as we said previously, with the city traffic management department, and they are opting for we believe in the end, they're going to opt for a fee in lieu of this developer actually making the road improvements. The number in the staff report is, some odd $220,000. We think in the end it's going to be more than $1 million. And, it's not a choice we have. We undertake the traffic impacts and work with traffic management, and it's an obligation to this developer to do that to offset the traffic. With the crime, I'm not convinced that apartments automatically equate to crime. That's something that we hear sometimes. I have not believed that's true. But we heard some of that commentary from the area commission, which is why we made the commitments that we made to the flock safety, to the lighting, to the cameras, and to the management perspective of this, to make sure it's not an issue. If people are in the business of renting apartments and people aren't safe in their home, they're not going to renew their lease annually, so they have a vested interest, a very significant vested interest to adequately maintain this view. The next issue is noise, and we spoke before about these setbacks. You know, I don't have my scale with me. I took from what the speaker had to say that she resides up in this kind of northeastern area of the property. This is all going to be maintained in woods. If somebody wants to flip flop back over to the aerial photograph, you can see that that's a significant woods over in this portion, and nothing's going to happen there. There might be some cleared out understory. There might be some need for some removal for utility crossings. You know, there might be some inland ash or some disease or dying species in there that are going to be cleaned out and removed. But these perimeters are really going to largely be maintained as a buffer and a preservation between this development and the adjacent residential neighbors. I think that also speaks to privacy and setback, and may have an answer to your question. When this, if someone can flip back to the site plan, when this goes to city council, we have this rezoning request. We have a companion council variance with the request too. What that allows us to do is to make promises, and it allows the city to hold us to those promises. And in this case, that is committing to that site plan that you see on the screen. So we can't come in and do anything other than what you see. So those commitments are in place because we have to be developed like this, and those perimeters have to be preserved. The last item that came up is values, and that is another concern that will come up from time to time. I have never once, and somebody certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that, but I've never once seen a study that introducing apartments to a community automatically results in a diminishment in the values on adjacent properties. We all see what's happening with housing in the city of Columbus, and we flat just don't have enough supply of housing to meet the demand. What happens then is prices go up and up and up and up, and people get upset twice a year when the folks at the county send us our tax bills. And so part of what the city, I think, is appropriately trying to do is get it out in front of that issue, increase the supply of housing, and make sure that we don't get into a situation where school teachers and police officers can't afford a home in this community. And, you all see it. We don't just come in willy-nilly and ask for something. We have to work hard with Christopher Lohr and his team in planning. We have to work hard with Daniel Moorhead and the team over at Traffic Management, and come out and meet with neighborhoods and work through the process with them, all of which we've done here, having in this case earned a city staff recommendation of approval, as well as a Greater Southeast Area Commission recommendation of approval. So I'll stop there, and hopeful that that this commission would send us on to city council with a recommendation of approval.
I have one. Don't explain to me the third bullet point on the traffic. With those structural building permit to be built on the.
Could I come back up to the screen? This is a really strange situation that we failed when we got a property. The owners of this property through the years were having, I don't know if it was, this is a farm field in Orchard before it got overgrown, and some tiles facilitating drainage over here or caved in or what. This property started getting a lot of water just from natural runoff. And so they came over onto this long rectangular piece and installed some pumps and things to get the water away from their house. And so then those facilities are there when we came to this property, and we said, we're not going to fuss about, adverse possession. We'll give you the property. We'll give you the property. So we had an agreement to give this owner that long sliver. And what that means is it just has to stay in the preservation area.
Thank you. Do we have anything we have to add to this one? All voting for vote. All in favor? Please call roll.
Kale McQuaid,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Denise P. Shanklin,
Yes.
and John Emerson.
You're approved.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Do we have to vote?
Is the applicant for case number 4 here?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, case number 4. 2.4-006, 550 Thomas Lane.
Site consistent of park developed with part of the Riverside Hospital campus in the I institutional district and the LI limited institutional districts. The requested CPD commercial plan development district will allow limited commercial uses, including hospital-related uses of parking. To the north of the site is the parking lot in the CPT commercial plan development district. To the south, the Riverside Hospital campus in the C3 commercial district. To the east is office development in the I institutional district. To the west are single-unit buildings in the SR suburban residential district. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the whole of the West Area Plan, recommends institutional land use of the location. There's no area commission organized civic association in this part of the city. The CBD text includes use restrictions and supplemental development standards that address building height and setbacks, vehicular access, parking arrangements, landscaping and screening, graphics and signage, and includes commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan. Code modifications to building and parking setbacks and required parking are included in the text. The closed multimodal thoroughfare plan identifies this portion of Old Benji River Road as a suburban commuter corridor requiring 160 feet of right of way. The requested CBD commercial plan to develop the district will allow the site to be redeveloped with limited commercial uses, including hospital buildings, uses, and parking. A CBD text establishes appropriate use restrictions and supplemental development standards. It includes limits to develop the site in accordance with its submitted site plan.
There's 60 existing.
The proposal considered consistent with all intended West Area Plans recognition for institutional uses of its location. The Division of Traffic Management notes that a traffic impact study is pending and may result in additional commitments to be incorporated in the city text prior to city council to gain our recommendation of approval. Therefore, city department's recommendation is for conditional approval at this time.
Any comments, questions? And
The element of the pending traffic study that pertains to this application is a look at the existing pedestrian crossing of Thomas Lane near North Street and White Cross Drive. It may end up being that the right thing to do is to keep the infrastructure the way it is today. But we just want to make sure that gets evaluated before this application goes forward. Study is in progress. We're actively working with that traffic consultant.
Okay, and you're working together to. Chris?
No further comments from planning.
Okay, yeah, is there anybody here to speak regarding case number 4? Okay, just a second. Gentlemen, you have anything to add to this?
I don't,
There's a little bit of confusion. The case we're here to talk about is near this property, but it's not this particular one on Thomas.
If you're referring to the overall Riverside campus, that's number 6.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are no speakers. So bearing that in mind, what would you like to add from the staff?
Doug Scholl with Ohio Health. I think the staff did a fine job describing it. Currently, the zoning change allows for the site in the bottom left corner to have a building that's been unused for a number of years removed and take a 60 space parking lot around that to turn it into a 100 space lot. So No,
Busy place these days.
it is very much.
Okay, any questions, not comments? Okay, is a motion to proceed? Let's go. Something? All those in favor? Okay, please call the roll.
Denise Keith Franklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
Yeah.
Dan McQuaid,
Yes.
Trevor Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to case number 5. C-23 dash 012 34 51 Brittany.
The 11.5 acre site consists of 9 parcels developed with single-unit dwellings and the CBD commercial plan development district. The requested AR1 apartment residential district will allow multi-unit residential uses with a maximum density of 36.3 dwellings per acre. North of the site is the contractor's office in the C2 commercial district and single-unit dwellings in the R rural district in the city of Columbus and Norwich Township. South and east of the site is a multi-unit residential development, the LAR1 limited apartment residential district. West of the site are single-unit dwellings in the CBD commercial plan development district. Concurrent CB 23-019 has been filed demonstrating a 300-unit apartment complex with variances to building setbacks and perimeter yard. That request will be heard by city council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The site is within the planning area of the Tracy Roberts area plan, which recommends neighborhood mixed-use land uses at this location. And additionally, the plan includes early adoption of C2P2 plan guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the West Idaho Area Commission. The recommendation is for disapproval. The proposed AR1 apartment residential district will allow multi-unit residential development uses at this location. While the Tracy Roberts area plan recommends neighborhood mixed use, the proposed development is consistent with the existing zoning and development pattern along Tracy Road and McKinley Avenue. Additionally, the proposal meets the city's objective to provide more housing in all neighborhoods throughout the city of Columbus. A revised traffic impact study was submitted on 8/21/2024 and is pending review. Additional commitments and or access provisions may be necessary based on the results of that approved traffic impact study, along with other commitments and or contributions. Once all outstanding traffic-related issues are approved by the Department of Public Service to their satisfaction, the city department's recommendation will be full approval. Right now, it is conditional approval.
Any questions or comments? Okay, traffic plan.
Since the time the staff report was written, we did complete our review of the traffic study and check comments. There is an access configuration that could be supported. The applicant is doing some further study on potential alternative access configuration. And so review and discussions on that are still pending. Ultimately, the applicant will be responsible for a contribution toward transportation infrastructure improvements in the vicinity of the site. And discussions are, ongoing what the exact that contribution would be.
And that leads us to the world famous discussion when we open blank check situation. You're aware of that?
We are.
Okay. Okay, is anybody here, Chris?
No further comments.
Okay, is anyone here intending to speak regarding case number 5? Warren, do you have anything like that?
I would. Relatively briefly, and then we'll come back and have a little more to say
Okay.
Afterwards. This property, and I think one of the previous exhibits up was the existing zoning map for the property. We years ago, I don't know when, annexed this into the city and we put it into a CPD, Commercial Plan Development District. Somewhat thinking at that time that the property would develop with some retail. It sat and groceries looked at it, various people looked at it, and it didn't go to market as a retail use. You notice from the previous aerial photography that there is an apartment complex to the south of the property. There's an apartment complex to the east of the property. And there are these old San Margarita, kind of a mix of uses on to the west that Jared Smith has always referred to this site as the piano keys, because that's what they look like. You heard something important from staff, and I want to reiterate what they said, and that is a reference over to the Trayview Roberts area plan and some of the basis of the city staff's recommendation of approval. What's proposed here is flat square in accordance with the land use recommendation right out of the Trayview Roberts area plan. In fact, that plan, if I'm not mistaken, would actually support far more residential density here than is being proposed on the site. Now, that plan also, it's a mixed use district, so it would also support a mix of uses, which in fact we had on this property at one point in time. If someone could flip over to the site plan, when we initially filed this application, those buildings up on the north side, 1, 2, 10, and 11, were mixed-use buildings that had retail on the first floor, 3 stories of residential above, and we got a lot of pushback on the height of those buildings out on Trayview Road. The neighborhood, the community, not the neighborhood, the area commission insisted that those buildings be reduced to 3 stories in height. We, at that point in time, didn't want to do that. And so we declined that request and asked for a vote of the area commission. And it was recommended for disapproval at that point in time. Then a little water passed under the bridge. I don't know how long, 9 months, a year maybe. And my client reevaluated the site and decided not to do mixed use buildings up there at 1, 2, 10, and 12, but to do purely residential buildings, and in so doing, reduce the height of those buildings, consistent with much of the pushback we received from the West Scioto Area Commission. So we took those buildings from mixed use with retail on the first floor at 4 stories to purely residential buildings. I don't know if we could flip over to architecture is in this package. Not in there? Okay. Well, that's a shame because the architecture is beautiful. So that's generally where we are. The traffic analysis here and the traffic analysis over in this part of town, you know, at Trayview and McKinley, and you all have seen Thrive and various other property owners in here. It has played out over an extended period of time. There's been joint traffic studies between Preferred Living and Thrive in the city of Columbus, and a continued look at improving the traffic situation out here. We have a new traffic study. We understand that traffic study is going to create an obligation to the developer here, and that obligation will be met when we go to council. Now, when you look at traffic and road impact and impact on infrastructure, when you look at that existing CPD that's on there, it's an extraordinarily dense retail zoning. What do we do? 20,000 square feet an acre, Jared?
That is correct. The current zoning allows for approximately, I think, Daniel, you would know since we studied the RMTC, I think you could technically say it was 600 apartments and 100,000 square feet of retail or office by zoning allowance.
So that's what's allowed there now from a retail perspective. The other thing that's allowed there now from a zoning perspective is to cover the property with buildings that are first floor retail with units above. That's all by right.
In a 60-foot height district.
In a 60-foot height district. And so we're talking 6 stories, 5.5 stories of building. Instead, we're doing purely residential. We removed the retail from the component. We reduced the density from the initial vote at the West Scioto Area Commission. And so what we are now proposing is a down zoning from what it presently is. And it is a significant, substantial decrease in the intensity overall on the property, not just from the existing CPD zoning, but from the initial zoning that we filed that had the 4-story buildings with the retail on the first floor. So, you know, several moving parts here. Unless you have anything else to say, Jared, we'll step aside and hear from the West Scioto Area Commission and have the opportunity to come back up.
Who will be our first? Are you the area commission?
Yes, yes. Uh, Thank you for letting us speak. My name is Rita Cabral, and I am the zoning chair for the West Iota Area Commission, and the gentleman handing out the paper is Mick Newman. He is our vice chair. Our commission has a vice chair, so I have asked him to sit with me. The original plan for this property was Z16-080. And it was to have 367,500 square feet of retail. Times have changed, no question about it. But the current application has 0. With the surrounding 2 preferred living projects, a total of 483 units, 267 in one and 216 in the other. And this particular project would have 300. And that gives us a total of 783 units, approximately 1,200 residents in this small area and no retail. West on Treview, within a short walking distance, a new project is going in, Council Variance 22-029, that took out a small plaza that had retail, pizza shop, pub, retail gaming, and meeting shop. There will be approximately 132 units there, giving about 256 residents. Within less than 2 miles of this corner, we will have added to our area 5,115 new units, approximately 7,700 residents, and no retail except the high-price few at the quarry trails. Asking for 10,000 square feet to remain on this site is healthier for the residents and will give this area a better sense of community. Traffic. We have asked for right in, right out for the entrance of this property for the safety of the new residents and the community until a better west side exit can be installed. Hopefully a traffic light or a roundabout at the Treview, Roberts, and Builders Place. The entrance is too close to the major intersection of Treview Road, McKinley, Dublin Road, and the railroad crossing. That's all I have to say at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just one other comment.
Give us your name first.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mick Newman, I'm the co-chairman. We are not opposed to the density. In fact, we asked the developer to move the 4-story in front to the side or rear. They elected to only go 3-story in the front. They could have went further, more higher in the back. We're not opposed to density at all. We just want retail. We need retail.
Okay. Bring you up. Oh, we have another, please.
Hello, my name is Dan Salargi. I'm a resident of Scioto Woods, which is just west of the proposed development. Proud homeowner, taxpayer, lifelong Buckeye fan, OH. I thought I'd get at least one in there. I'm here with some of the other neighbors, once again, to express concerns of our community. And community is an important word to us. It means a lot. It means working together, listening, sharing. We feel that the developer talks about building communities a lot. However, their history has shown with neighboring properties here, the Belmont and Hanover. There's also a property at the corner of Wilson and Treview. Their history shows that they build them, they fill them, they sell. Often to out-of-state equity firms that we feel eventually leads to a downgrade of the quality of these developments that they are building. That is a concern for us. I question why they don't want to maintain ownership and really be a sense of the community. They don't do that. They sell them off, and basically they're not transparent on what their ultimate plans are, is what I feel like. Just like with this one, where they start off with retail, then they change it. We're just asking for some diversity here. We're asking for, I'm not here just for Scioto Woods or the West Scioto Area Commission. I'm here for all of these other people that have spoken in front of you that have woken up in the morning and said, another apartment complex. I mean, I get it too. Times have changed. But I think responsible plan and some diverse development, not just this continued cramming of often enormous apartment complexes into these smallest parcels of land. It's like square pegs and round holes to me. And now I feel that the residents are often vilified. You wish some of this rhetoric of being NIMBYs, and all we really want is quality and some diversity around our neighborhood. As Rita was saying, over 5,000 units have been added, but nothing else is added to the area. And I just don't feel, and many of our residents don't feel, that it benefits the existing area. We're not NIMBYs, we're QUIMBYs. We want quality in our backyard. Who wouldn't, right? When that happens, people get along, life is good. When some of these developers, I feel, have a short-minded focus on quantity, and eliminate the quality or maybe some of the diversity, we just keep getting these contrasting developments. It doesn't build community, it builds more discourse. So I want to live in a Columbus that promotes development, but I want proper, reasonable development that builds community, cohesiveness, relationships. We feel the current plan fails on this criteria, especially with the revision of eliminating the retail that we do feel would be very beneficial to the community in the area. As mentioned before, there are still traffic concerns. So I just ask that when you look at this and some of the other projects in the area, don't just think about it with your head, think about it with your heart, think about the soul of not just our community, but the city. And I thank you very much for your time.
Very often you find somebody who wants commercial.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fitzpatrick, and it's a double-edged sword, right? There's a concern about traffic, and then there's a desire for retail, and then if you do retail here, then you increase the traffic situation, and so it's these are not simple problems to solve. One of the things that drives retail, really the thing that drives retail, is rooftops. And there will eventually be some additional retail opportunities along Trayview and in this vicinity when the right threshold of rooftops exist in the vicinity. And so, I harped a little earlier on the land use plan, the Trayview Roberts area plan, and what we've proposed here, it meets that plan. In fact, it's less dense from a residential perspective than that plan would require. You talk about responsible plans, and this harkens back to the last case that I was up here to talk about. We are committing to this site plan that you see. This is a thoughtful plan. We're framing the edge of Trayview Road with the buildings. We've got some central green space. You come down into the site off of Trayview Road into the clubhouse. It's a shame that the architecture is not in the package. The architecture is a commitment with the council variance component to this, and it is really beautiful architecture here. And, I do a lot of this kind of work. I think that Preferred Living promotes and builds some of the best multifamily architecture of anybody in the marketplace, except of course the what Architectural Alliance does. I guess I'm not gonna take that away. We agreed with the commission to install a shared use path up along the north side of this property. We need housing in this community. This has an affordability element under the city's CRA program. If we wanted to do quantity over quality, we'd have a different plan, and we come in here and cram a bunch of first floor retail with units above up to the 60-foot height district. Obviously, Preferred Living is not interested in doing that. They're interested in doing what they know best how to execute, which is true apartment residential with a commitment to this plan and a commitment to architecture. A couple things, the last speaker, he's right. There's another project pending on the south side of Treyview Road, east of Hague, south of Raymond, next to the Scioto Woods neighborhood. He mentioned that he lives in Scioto Woods, certainly in this neighborhood, but not directly adjacent to this property. You can see on the screen the railroad tracks to the west. On west of there is Hague, and then on west of there is the next site that's working its way to this commission. The project at Treyview and Wilson isn't Preferred Living. That's another developer. And, in the face of the housing situation that we have in this community, there are lots of different kinds of developers. There are groups that decide that they're going to build apartment complexes, and their goal is to hold them forever. There are groups that come in with LIHTC and tax credit funding that have a legal obligation based upon their finance tool to hold them for 15 years and often do a refi and hold them another 15 years. There are other groups that come in and build these and lease them up and have a good rent, and people decide, third-party buyers decide they want to come in and buy them. And it takes all of that and then some to even come close to meeting the housing need in this community. So does Preferred Living often build these and sell them to third-party people? Yeah, yes, they do. So do lots of other people in the market, among all of the other examples, and then some that I just discussed. This is a great plan. This is not inconsistent with the built environment in the immediate vicinity. This is a radical downzoning from the CPD that's on there now. We've been responsible in terms of interfacing with traffic, interfacing with planning, committing to make road improvements, and committing to this throughout the process and as we go to council.
I think the only other thing I'd add is it was a very close vote in West Side Area Commission last month when we went. We had the opportunity to go back when Development Commission was postponed, and it was a vote of 3-3. And there was a lot of discussion of whether people wanted the retail or not. There was a decisive group that was not interested in it because of the traffic and additional idea that it was traffic. Before the original proposal, obviously we can talk all day about what it could be, right, in the current zoning and the existing CPD. I think what we need to focus on, obviously, while we're thinking about that, is what we're proposing now, which is obviously much less. And original proposal was 324 units with the 4 stories up front and the 10,000 square feet of retail. And I agree that we discussed certainly moving the buildings to the back, and there was not an opposition necessarily to density when we discussed it. Obviously, there was an opposition to traffic, and there was an opposition to the 4 stories along Treyview Road. But Nick even many times mentioned the 4 stories in the back. There's no question about that. So I won't take the idea at any point that they said density was a problem. Traffic obviously is a concern, but density was never a problem.
Well, traffic's starting to look better with the widening of the bridge over by 4-H area.
Fascinatingly enough, over the last 3 years doing the I always get confused, RTMC or MTC? RTMC, which initial goes first. My understanding is that traffic counts have actually gone down in the last 3 years, despite building all of the products that's been there. So it's fascinating.
Well, yes.
Question, just since that proposal or since the suggestion of moving to that, away from Hyman, wondered what was the rationale for saying, that's not there.
Well, so that discussion was when the proposal was the 4-story buildings with the retail first floor out on Treyview Road. And the discussion from the commission was, we don't want you to have 4 stories out on Treyview Road. If you guys need to do 4-story buildings, move them back to the back of the proposal. So down to the south, like buildings 5, 3, 9, 5, 7, et cetera.
Increase your residential in the back.
Correct. They proposed that. And at that point, we declined. We thought that there was going to be mixed-use buildings on Treyview Road, and that those mixed-use buildings needed to be 4 stories in height to have the right, span on the first floor. And now I'm using architectural terms so I'm out of my league. But we felt those buildings needed to be 4 stories with the retail out on Treyview Road. We've since removed the 4 stories from the development proposal altogether. Everything here is 3.
Issue of Meeting the numbers. It was more an issue of.
Building composition at the location, and you know, when you want those retail buildings up on the road, you want them to have the visibility and to, yeah.
And with the redesign, obviously, we took away the parking variances that we were asking for. That was another big thing that exited with this site plan. It's basically just down to setbacks along the perimeters.
Yeah, the initial area commission process, there was some consternation about sort of conflicts that were gonna arise as a result of that retail. You're coming in, you're parking down here for the retail. Are you walking up along the buildings and coming into the front? And so it was just, it felt like there was conflict there, and that was some of the basis for the no votes that we did get from some of the area commission members.
I think you're making a great case for a farmer's market, right, with Concord Graves, because it's less and less Concord Graves happening with them.
Absolutely.
Okay, anybody else have a comment? We do not need, you've already taken, nothing new on the site plan.
No, sir.
You already are on record for your continuing work on traffic.
Yes. Yes.
If it doesn't work out, you gotta go back.
Understood.
Okay, we need a motion to take a vote. Don't move. Okay, all those in favor of the vote? Okay, please call the roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Tony Burson,
Yes.
Ken Webb,
Yes.
Denise and Keith Jackman,
Yes.
Trevor Faber.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you all.
Okay, case number C 24-34, 3535 Old Energy River Road.
Before I begin, please note that we received one opposition email from Jason Neighbor regarding the voting height and scale. That email that you found in your supplemental packet. The site consists of part of one parcel and 2 other parcels in the C3 commercial district and is developed with the Riverside Methodist Hospital campus. The applicant requests an LT4 limited commercial district to allow for hospital uses and a large medical campus. Additionally, a BZA variance and special permit, BZA 24-96, was approved to allow reduced parking and the addition of a second heliport on campus. North of the site are single-unit dwellings in the SR suburban residential district and hospital uses in a pending CBD commercial plan development district. South and east of the site is right-of-way for State Route 315. West of the site is railroad right-of-way. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Ontario West Area Plan, which recommends institutional land use at this location. There is no area commission or recognized civic association in this part of the city. The limitation type includes use restrictions and supplemental development standards addressing building height, building and parking setbacks, and traffic commitments pending the traffic impact study that is currently underway. The proposed LC4 limited commercial district will allow hospital and medical campus uses. The limitation section includes a commitment to limit the building height of any buildings within 55 feet from Thomas Lane to a maximum height of 35 feet. The proposed uses and height limitation within the requested LT4 district are consistent with the existing uses and development of the site, along with the Olentangy West plan. Olentangy West area plan recommendation for institutional land uses at this location. The traffic impact study is in progress and additional text commitments and/or access revisions may be necessary as a result of that approved study. Once any outstanding traffic-related commitments are approved by the Department of Public Service, city recommendations will be for full approval. At this moment, it's conditional approval.
Okay. Any questions? Trevor?
The only thing I'd add is, we're continually working with the applicant and their traffic consultant on the study. Ohio Department of Transportation is also a reviewer of this study, looking at the freeway jump. And we're just working toward, reviewing the proposed access and identifying if any this might be appropriate.
Any first finding?
No further comments from planning.
Okay, before we start, any questions of the applicants? At this point, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 6? Riverside, okay, we have one speaker. Gentlemen, would you like to, 2 speakers? Okay. If you'd like to add in the staff's presentation.
Yes, thank you. The reason this application came about is last fall in the process of planning for. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Matthew Moberg with Porter Wright Morrison Arthur, outside counsel to Ohio Health. When we went through the process of planning the Women's Health Center tower that's being constructed on the campus right now, the cranes to which you referred, we obtained a variance there to allow the 185-foot height district for that building, as well as some supplemental setback variances. At the time we were working through that process, we discovered that Riverside Hospital was zoned C3 and not C4, which doesn't, the hospital is not permitted to be a hospital. It seems that the zoning code, this was put into place well after Riverside has been a hospital since the 1960s, I believe. And so the code was implemented long after it's been a hospital use. And I think no one really noticed that this was the case. So the purpose here really fairly is to clean up the zoning and actually make it a hospital. And that was somewhat suggested by the staff at the time we discussed that. It's also worth noting that the parcel upon which the hospital sits is also the same tax parcel. And you can't see it on this map necessarily, but it's the same tax parcel upon which Ohio Health's corporate offices sit, which are across on Olentangy River Road, but across 315. That area was just recently designated as a regional activity center as part of the zoning amendments that went into place at the end of August. So part of our property, the commercial office, is already zoned to permit a hospital. So we just want to also bring the hospital into that same category.
Okay. All right, let's see what our opposition has to say, and we'll bring them back to the mic. We are abiding by the same rules of city council, 3 minutes.
I appreciate that. I'm not feel so outnumbered here. My name is Marshall Cohen. I live at 913 Landsmere Lane, which is just northwest of the Riverside parcel. I think the description doesn't really capture the flavor of the neighborhood. It says the Riverside parcel abuts a railroad track. Well, that's true, but that railroad track is narrower than Thomas Lane. And for all intents and purposes, the properties to the west of the hospital campus abut the hospital campus. If we were standing in the backyard of any of those properties, we'd have an unrestricted view right into the hospital campus, its parking lots, its building. Further, the helicopter noise that emanates from the hospital campuses can be heard basically 24/7, 365. The neighborhood to the west is Brentford Park. It's a neighborhood that is composed of single-family residences, almost all of which are owner-occupied. The houses in the area are selling for $400,000 to $500,000 right now, or even more. The staff report to the commission fails to take into account any impact that any further development on the hospital campus site would have. Now, I certainly understand the need to clean up the zoning. The hospital's been there, zoning's changed. What we're concerned with in the neighborhood is continued unrestricted development on the parcel. They just went ahead and got rezoning for a 180-foot building essentially next to single-family residences that can't be any higher than 35 feet. Right now, the hospital properties, the buildings already dominate the view from the neighborhood. There's no real barriers on the west side of the hospital property that transition the hospital property or the commercial use to the neighborhood use. What we would like to see, well, actually, because there's no separation from the hospital property, the continued development of the hospital property really has an effect on the neighborhood to the west. As the hospital property develops, as buildings are constructed higher and higher, as a second helicopter port in with noises that can reach 100 decibels, It destroys the neighborhood environment. It reduces the property values of the neighborhood. It makes what is really a very desirable neighborhood of single-family residences not that desirable anymore. It puts pressure to convert that single-family residence neighborhood to rental neighborhood. And again, destroy the environment, destroy the property values, and destroy the neighborhood. What we'd like to see in the zoning request is transition. Right now, there's no provision for buffering landscape. There's no provision for building designs on the west side of the property. There's no provisions for dumpster lighting, outdoor display areas, or other environmental commitments. There's no provisions for setbacks on the west side of the hospital property. There's no provision for noise abatement. Right now, the property can be built right up to the property line, and then boom, you're in a neighborhood. That's not right. This commission needs to protect a vital, important, and strong neighborhood that's in the city of Columbus, and not let unrestricted development without transition destroy it. I would encourage this commission to, if it approves the zoning request, to require that transitional limitations be put into effect on the west side of the property that include these things I've mentioned: the buffering landscape, the building designs, the lighting, the setback, in order to preserve a strong, valuable, and important neighborhood. Now, just for example, I'd like to take a moment and talk about noise, because we often focus on structures, but noise is important. And this commission just approved a second heliport on the west side of the property that is right next to the neighborhood. As I mentioned earlier, helicopters can have 100 decibel noise, and often do. 100 decibel noise is pretty darn loud, and about the only thing louder than 100 decibel noise, the only thing that creates a noise louder than that is a jet engine. Now, the properties that are the hospital property are only about 100 feet from where a heliport may be. Could you imagine being woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning by 100 decibels 24/7? It happens. The noise from the heliport already is loud enough to shake the houses. And again, I'm going to urge this commission, if it improves the zoning request, to take a second and have the city review limitations on the west side of the property that are going to preserve the environment to the neighborhood that's to its west. And again, we're looking for limitations on noise. We need noise abatement, landscaping, downlights, dumpster lighting, displays, and any other environmental limitations. I want to thank you for taking the time to hear my concerns today.
Okay, very, very thoughtful input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more speaker.
I'm Cheryl Williams.
Give us in the microphone so they can have it on tape.
I'm Cheryl Williams. I live directly on the west side of Riverside's campus at 854 Brentford Drive. And I wish I could have addressed the new heliport decision. I was not able to do so, and forgive me, I have severe COPD, so I am having trouble talking. We're not just talking the noise. Marcella was very good at explaining the issues, but my goodness, just think not only the noise, but the vibrations. Is that going to damage our homes over time? I would love to hear if there's any studies, because I'm sure there are for locations next to the airport. Anyway, I wonder why Riverside is choosing to place that building where they are choosing to do it, as opposed to right next to one of their existing parking garages. I don't understand why a heliport across the entire campus away from the emergency room would be of use. I know this isn't where I should be talking about that, but the idea of a very tall parking garage right behind my home with lighting, hopefully not going into my windows. I'm hoping the lighting will be down, but have you seen their parking garages? They're open, obviously they want to ventilate. So people will have visual, they'll be looking in my windows. I don't know about you, but that's disturbing. Marshall was much better at describing the different points. I'm gonna stop here.
We
Thank you.
understand, we understand your comment.
Thank you.
Let's have our, oh, we have another speaker to come on.
Sorry, I didn't say anything earlier.
3 minutes, sir, don't be redundant.
I will try not to. My name is John Landell. I live at 692 Thomas Lane, directly across the street from the hospital. I would like to compliment and add to the, particularly the first speaker, talking about the impact on the neighborhoods next to it. First, I would like to thank Riverside. They have been responsive. I've talked with them. They installed some floodlights for security in the parking lot, and one of them happened to shine right in my bedroom. I mentioned that to them, and they did turn that one off. And so that did satisfy that. However, adding to the heliport, the new heliport, with the existing heliport, I think I can add some experience with what's existing there because I'm right on the flight line. Helicopters come right over my house to land at that heliport. The noise is quite loud, and my windows are often rattled because they come in, I don't know how far over my house, but it seems very close where I can read the numbers on the helicopter when they go over me. So the noise, I am concerned a bit with the noise, and the first gentleman did point that out to me, that I believe there needs to be some thought given to noise abatement around the hospital, not just to the west side, but also to the north side, because there are several houses right along Thomas Lane that receive a considerable amount of noise, particularly right near the lead intersection, because that's where they have their mechanical buildings, et cetera. Several years ago, they did have some taller pine trees, which helped with some of the noise abatement, but then they removed all those trees and bushes and put down some lower level landscaping, which looks very nice, but it really adds to the noise situation. So I would ask the council to consider with this variance to allow for some sort of transition, not only along the west side of the railroad tracks, which they are correct. That is a narrow railroad track and you can see right across it. It doesn't provide much of a barrier, but also to the north side for some noise abatement, landscaping or something like that. So that's what I would like to add. Thank you.
Let's get our applicants back. I have this question. Where's the new helicopter?
Can I walk and point?
Yeah.
So the current has their, right, it's brown mounted right outside of their spark. Right. And as they discussed, the flight down in and out of the we have here, they'll take depending on the mix.
Okay.
The new helipad is going to be raised up approximately 75 feet, which will elevate the noise, not to say it's going to mitigate it completely, but we're going to take it off of that. So that always close coming in, landing at a higher level, dropping down, and elevating down to get it in here. Then again, putting part of the garage here, impacts like that, which is part of regulating that.
Okay. Well, the next question, next comment. Please. You've heard previous cases talk about density, how many units, it's very dense, it's an issue. There's also another version of that, and that's the word intensity. And in my opinion, parking garages are very low intensity. It's very long, and it can be made less imposing than almost any other type of building that you get a home, right? If you're going to try to build a parking garage that doesn't have a sprinkler system and the fresh air, mechanized fresh air, that can be a wall, that can be a configuration that's more opaque than people hanging over the railing and look down. That isn't dancing. Nobody wants that. And in these apartment projects, people always want the end of the buildings to face their backyards, so people are standing on the dock. So you do things with that big parking garage element that don't really have much impression on people by muffling the sound, directing the lighting with cutoff lenses to the inside, which is where your customers or your staff is spending their time.
Right.
It's better for you. And maybe there needs to be some sort of sound. I know that if you're anywhere near the airport, or we had a cemetery project that there used to be a baseball stadium. And but there was a 60 decibel maximum. Throw in your favorite rock group up near Polaris and have them sing and dance, they would get all kinds of citations for noise violations. People had to make guarantees, financial guarantees, that if they ran over 60 decibels, whatever their usage would be, they had to pay a fine. It went up again to that. So that's a magic barrier, 60 decibels. However, it's a hospital. Those helicopters aren't just having fun, they're saving people's lives. There's a way to work this out and make it suitable for everyone. Architecturally, you can, and I watch TV, I see the Chicago one. The helicopter land, and you got elevator structure that's dedicated to getting them down and transported to the operating room with a strong center. Very rapidly, but that raised element can be a sound meter, and it can deflect some of that sound. And oftentimes I'm watching a soccer game somewhere, I hear one of the helicopters on business came from Rex somewhere, and they come into Riverside. And it doesn't bother me. It's a needed aspect. And Riverside is basically a city within the city, when you count the number of people that work there, provide service there, and then prepare stuff. So I think there's things you can do with that to make it palatable for everybody. And I think you've been there since 1960, and you're a vital fabric city, and you deserve to have an opportunity to take care of your needs. But you can also look out for your neighbors and cut down on the sound transmission, keep below 60 decibels. You can visually, you can make that wall. If you don't have the formula where if you have 50% open area, you don't have to put in exhaust fans and fresh air fans. You can trap all that sound, trap all that light with a more or less opaque wall on the west wall facing across the river. Someday that may be a running trail. Railroad tracks often turn that way, but can you tell us what sort of things you can do to mollify the fact that there are pretty intense streets coming down right next door to one-story residential homes?
Well, again, we have been working with the neighborhood and meeting with them to say, what are your concerns? And I'm going to retract a little bit and go to the previous position where we wanted that parking lot, the previous presentation. We had actually proposed a parking garage there. And some of the folks said, wait a minute, what can you do with your current garage that's on the Bing because it shines down into our house? So we put new deflectors on those lights to make sure that, again, we're listening to our neighbors. The gentleman who said, hey, the light's shining in our house, we addressed that. There's somebody else who said there's arborvitae blocking a view of our garage. It's covered with vines. We're afraid it's going to be killed. Can you weed that out? And we did. So we are listening to our neighbors. And if there are things that we can do, we will continue to be good neighbors because we consider ourselves a community asset. And we're here for the community. Now, is it always a perfect synergy? It isn't, but we will work with that neighborhood group to say, what can we do to make sure that, can we make it as attractive as possible? What can we do to mitigate the light? We felt the best thing to do was to raise the helipad to mitigate some of that noise being closer to the ground. But there's probably more work we can do with that neighborhood group to make sure that we beautify it and create that buffer.
I mean, you have some mats there to eat some sound, all that said. But there are ways you can probably tamp that down. And there are ways you can dress up to some degree that, how many levels is apartment garage?
7.
So maybe 70 feet. So, you know, I've always taken the attitude, I'm sitting on my patio across where we're at. I'm looking at the hospital way off in the distance. Mirror glass, perfect wall. I can look. But you put this building up close, how can you bring me back to some sort of equilibrium? You don't have room to plant trees and hedge, so or someone on the patio was just putting that, but greenscape and whatever happens behind that, then who cares? There's no impact. But your architecture team can come up with creative ways to downplay what that wall, with a 6-story, 7-story structure looks like. At the same time, that structure is going to get some sound, and bounce the light back in, and be a good thing. So I'm glad to hear you're working on it. I think it's important that, you know, there was only 1 or 2 neighbors that showed up, but they all have that same problem. And they all are going to someday or later say, I get this point here, you got a little less than me.
I've earned them all though. Believe me.
Yeah. You're gonna be customers. I've been a customer of Riverside a few times. And the needed element of the cities.
And we will meet with that west neighborhood group that's west of our campus to make sure that they do have that voice.
Okay. Anybody else?
This, I think this, I support what the chair has said. I don't believe that the zoning case should be the linchpin on the decision whether you're zoned correctly or not. That's not why you should be held up. But the call to be more sensitive to your direct neighbors, it comes through loud and clear. And you know, your design sensitivity is going to be brought into question. I think the more you work with them, the more first class they feel as well. I think you should look at green walls. And at some point, just as a mechanism for deadening sound as well as visual scale change. But you know, you've grown so much. It's wonderful to see the development, but boy, it does get, you don't step on anybody's toes either. So.
Now you can take what you've done on the internal curving corridor that goes from the red garage to the orange wing, where you have extra walls and some plantings. You can bump out a structure that would hold, so you can hold trees or ground cover ivy. That's the thing on that west wall of the garage, which means nothing to you, but it can just kind of neutral to any wear and tear, but it would soften the view and the noise. And that makes you a good neighbor. Like, well, no less off than they are now, it makes them better off. Turn. They actually look at loading docks. Backside of the hospitals, the doors. I encourage you to press on with those things. It may tweak the budget a hair to add those features. But when you move on the other side of Thomas Lane, the next wing of the hospital, there are guys up the street there, they may want to have a good will. Agree. Any other comments?
Yeah. I think my two brothers have said it all, but I think I have something to do. This is where Frank Lloyd and say comes to play. 7-story garage is huge. To 35 story house. So, like John mentioned, the item to bring more. Frank Lloyd made a statement that doctors very dead. You can have to expand trees to hide their own units. So I think this is why you have to grade trees down to hide the garage so that it doesn't disturb the person to your neighbors. The asset in the community, you are not going anywhere, but I think the best thing is to give to the neighbors.
Great. And no architect wants to bury it. Save him and make it nice. Okay. Motion to vote. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, please vote.
Johnny Worthing.
Yep.
Dan Lambert.
Yes.
Denise P. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Ray Conroy.
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you for your time.
And really just got my remodel from parking garages.
You know, the large Spallway project.
Our architects will be excited to talk about it. Don't worry.
You like, oh, it's your hospital then.
Yeah. Okay, case number 7. Z24-033, 1661.
The site is statement to develop parking in the Central Commercial District. The request of the Commercial District will allow development of a single and 2-unit dwellings. To the north of the site is a 2-unit dwelling and commercial garage parking lot in the R4 residential district, and a commercial garage in T4 commercial districts. To the south is a single-unit dwelling and undeveloped lots in the R4 residential district. To the east is a commercial garage in the C4 commercial district. To the west are single units and 2-unit dwellings in the R4 residential district. Concurrent CV 24-090 has been filed with very required parking inside the requirements. The request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. Besides with the planning boundaries of the Scott Linden land use plan, which recommends mixed use 1, central units an acre, land uses at this location. Additionally, the plan includes complete adoption of this citywide planning policy. The site is located within the boundaries of the South Linden Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The longest multimodal thoroughfare plan identifies this portion of East Hudson Street as an urban community connector, requiring 80 feet of right of way. The request of a residential district will allow the development of single and 2-unit dwellings. Staff supports the proposal as it is generally consistent with the South Linden land use plan and C2B2 recommended mixed use 1 land uses at this location, which includes multi-unit residential. The Division of Traffic Management notes that a right-of-way dedication exception request is pending and may require additional commitments prior to City Council. On completion of the right-of-way exception request to the satisfaction of traffic management, City Council recommendation will be for approval. Therefore, City's recommendation currently is for additional.
Okay, ending the traffic. Okay, questions? Dan, anything?
You know, what we're working on with the applicant is that their plan requires additional right of way on Hudson Street, which, doesn't necessarily make sense. But there's some oddity with the property line along building frontage. So we're working with them to dedicate what would be appropriate along Billiter in lieu of what their current plan says for us.
Yes.
No further comments from them.
Okay, there's all, you got some hands. Is it, okay, with questions of the staff or anybody else? Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 7? Reorder. Okay, you have conditional approval by the city, is what to do on traffic. And the neighborhood voted 6-0 in favor. Is there anything you'd like to add to staff report or your situation with traffic?
I'm Brian Higgins, and no,
Speakers.
thank you.
That being the case, I'm going to call for a motion. Second. All those in favor?
Dan Webb,
Yes.
Denise Keith Shaneland.
Yeah.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson.
Yes.
Terry Patrick.
Yes, door approved.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Shane. Case number 8. T24-011, 1429 Rock Road.
A 0.72 acre site consists of one market, public use bar lot, and one repair facility in Seaport Commercial, C5 commercial districts. Reflected on the four limited commercial district will rate site under one zoning district and will allow limited commercial uses at this location. North and west of the site are multi-unit residential developments in the ARLD apartment residential district. South of the site is a self-storage facility in the Seaport commercial district. East of the site is commercial development, Seaport commercial district. Site is located with the boundaries of the Northland 1 area plan, which recommends vertical neighborhood plan uses at this location. Site is located within the boundaries of the Northland Community Council with recommendation to support approval. The limitation text establishes use restrictions, supplemental development standards, address setbacks, access screening, and building design. Part of the LC4 limited commercial district will allow for limited commercial uses at this location. Staff supports proposal as if consistent with the land use recommendation of the commercial 1 area plan. Additionally, the proposal is consistent with the existing zoning pattern along Sportsman Rock Road, which includes a mix of commercial oriented uses and for staff recommendation is for approval.
Okay, questions on staff?
Our comments have been resolved.
First, tell me what comments. Either you throw with the presentation. Not with the, don't use that word. Jack?
Solving a code enforcement problem, so the owner would appreciate the approval so we can solve that problem.
You'll get out of here with no questions. How many miles did you run at lunch?
I just walked and I enjoyed it. It was a beautiful day.
That's perfect. I'd like to okay.
And that was regarding the condition of that. Northland Council, they had a recommendation, recommend approval with one condition.
That I add the 12, yes. They have a list of uses that they always want in the text. And so I added that to the text and.
I hadn't seen it in this version, so I'm just kidding.
The condition has been incorporated.
Yes, I did.
Is that a poultry issue or a swine issue?
They have a lot in there and pawn shop, yeah.
That's a lot of intensity.
Okay,
Okay, so we're ready to vote. All those in favor? Okay, call roll.
Denise Keith Shaneland.
Yeah.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson.
Yes. Can we vote? Yes. Fair. Yes, you are approved. Case number 9. D24-023, 2121 Bill Montana.
The 34.32 acre site consists of 14 parcels involving the sports stadium and athletic fields and manufacturing district and the Archville residential district. Requested CPD commercial plan development district will allow commercial uses at this location. North of the site are commercial uses in the manufacturing district and Interstate 71 right of way. South of the site are parking lots and fairground property in the Archville residential and M manufacturing districts. East of the site is the museum and associated uses in the R4 residential and C4 commercial districts. West of the site are single unit dwellings in the R2 Ave residential district and railroad right of way. The site is not located in planning boundaries of the council without the land use plan, but it's subject to adoption of the city wetland policy, CDP design guidelines. It's also not located within the boundaries of any area commission or neighborhood group. The CPD text commits to a site plan that establishes appropriate uses and supplemental development standards addressing building and parking setbacks, height, access, parking, and landscaping. The text includes code modifications to interior parking lot landscaping and a reduction in the number of required parking spaces from 4,001 space to about 248 spaces. Proposed CPD for the development district will allow commercial use at this location. While there is no council adopted land use plan for this location, the site is subject to CPD design guidelines. Staff supports proposal due to the proximity of transit access and the presence of adjacent parking lots and fairground property, and therefore support the request to legitimize the reduced parking. Staff also recognize the existing landscaping around the site boundaries within the CPD design guidelines, and for staff recommendation is for approval.
Ariel, any questions?
Just the clarification in the, text, it does say the purpose is to just legitimize what's there and return the whole thing to commercial, no new developments for those, correct? That's
But the other question on that is 200 foot.
Lights.
So for the lights.
It's on a bus line.
But I mean, that in the future would allow a building.
This is,
I think the existing
I have
height,
to say, 110.
I think the existing height is, the existing height district is 110 or 200 or whatever it is.
We're should that be one of the existing 110? I don't know. Soccer players that are wearing their boots, that's that people buying up the questions for 110.
Is it in the 110 foot height district?
That's what was requested when the application was filed.
Okay, yeah, we're okay with that.
All right, so we need a motion to knock text back to the 110.
Right.
Good point. We can always have 200 neighbors.
Yeah, right.
In a parachute to the war.
Yeah, and let me say one thing. David Hodge, attorney for the applicant. It's probably a little bit ironic that I'm here rezoning the historic Crew Stadium, which has never been in an appropriate zoning district since it originally existed. There have been some false starts towards the zoning. It's it's R and it's M, and it never has been in the correct zoning. We came in earlier this year to allow them to create some new soccer fields practice facility there, which went to council as a council variance. As a condition of that, we were to come back within a certain time frame and conform the zoning. So that's what we're doing. We are putting historic Crew Stadium in for the very first time into an appropriate zoning classification.
Let's think of how many more soccer games the crew would have won.
That, no question. And my 11-year-old daughter thinks her dad is very cool because he has the Columbus Crew as a client. So that's also a benefit. I'll take whatever I can get.
She still, she acted it for hour off a block away to school.
Well, I live a block away, so she can walk.
All right, let's have a motion to take a vote. Well, we have a motion to,
I think that's just a typo.
let go. Motion, to put that title. Motion. Second. Okay, please, all those in favor? Okay, just go.
Maria Cameron,
Yes.
Johnny Wilson,
Yes.
Kenny Mugway,
Yes.
Denise Keith Shanklin, Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you all very much.
Now, to our last page. D 24-031. 2025.
Leonard at Bretton.
20 feet of supplemental packets for an updated implementation text and site plan that both address planning commission comments regarding landscaping, in addition to the North Central Area Commission recommendation. The 1.37 acre site consists of 200 parcels in the AR12 apartment residential district. The requested LN limited manufacturing district will allow a bus repair facility and parking lot. North of the site is a manufacturing facility in the M manufacturing district. South of the site is an undeveloped parcel in the AR12 apartment residential district. East of the site is a bus storage facility in the C4 commercial district. West of the site are 3-unit dwellings in the C4 commercial district. The current CD 24-012 has been filed to reduce parking and building setbacks and relocate landscaping. The request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The site is within the planning boundaries of the North Central Plan, recommends open space land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the North Central Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The implementation text includes use restrictions and supplemental standards that address landscaping. Commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan is also included in the text. The requested LN manufacturing district will allow the site to be developed with a bus repair facility and parking lot. The implementation text establishes appropriate use restrictions and supplemental development standards. Although the proposal is inconsistent with the land use recommendation of the North Central Plan, staff acknowledges that the proposal is a continuation of an established use to the east and the similar industrial uses to the east and north, as well as commercially zoned property to the west, that would not represent an encroachment into established residential areas or cause substantial alteration to the character of the neighborhood. The Division of Traffic Management has the following outstanding comments. Staff requests widening the access point to 28 feet and providing a striped crosswalk connecting between the ADA passenger access aisle and public sidewalk. Application of the above comments to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Service, City Department's recommendation would be for full approval. City Department's current recommendation is for conditional approval.
And has anybody produced a drawing represents these things?
The landscape plan is up there. We've agreed with traffic to do the walk from Brittenell into the building, and that will be added to the site plan. And we did get approval from the North Central Area Commission, and we got that report today. It should be in your supplemental package. As staff did say, this is simply VAT is buying more buses. We need more buses for the city of Columbus to transport our children. And they had an opportunity to buy the property. This, you all may recognize, was going to be in a condo development at one point in time. As recently as 2022, it was before you, it was an apartment rezoning. That failed. So VAT bought the property. We're going through the purchase process to buy the alley, which bisects the two parcels. And we have the land commission next Thursday morning. And so we're here, I hope, with full approval because we've satisfied traffic and we've satisfied plan.
You also represent your boss.
That is not your bus. That is the owner of the property. That's the VAT, not your bus.
Okay. Is there a date on that site plan for the?
Today's date on it.
Okay. So we need a motion to incorporate the 10-10-24 site plan and access.
Yes, we'll make that change and add the sidewalk that connects the sidewalk into the building.
You'll take care of that before city council.
Absolutely.
And question?
Yeah, specific to the proposal, I'm looking at least 7 housing units that are gonna go. I mean, that triangle right now is holding on for dear life for residential. And this will kick it. It'll go. We will lose. By my count, 7 units. That will go straight manufacturing because you've got them barely holding on. And there is still residential south of Old Leonard, some Leonard, and then definitely south of Fifth. I'm just concerned that that's pushing out. I mean, we've been talking about housing and you're gonna put a pressure there for this whole thing to stay. That's my concern. I just want to make that statement.
And it looks like a pretty heavy industrial area.
Anyway, the houses are actually zoned commercial.
YWCA and housing. Well, so, I mean, there's residential in there. It's just, it feels like a creep to me. That's my perspective. I just wanted to.
And this is an opportunity, they are busting at the seams across Brentonell, and they saw the opportunity. This will allow them to build a facility that will be able to maintain their buses and then provide 40 parking spaces for their buses. But yes,
It's not a
legitimate use, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Another comment? Okay, we start it back to the motion for update the document.
Yes, that's.
Okay, you've got the. All those. Motion, that's second. All those in favor? Vote. Okay, all those in favor? Okay.
John Anderson,
Yes.
Dan Mugway,
Yes.
Janine Jenkins,
Yeah.
Maria Conroy,
Yeah.
and Chuck Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. You are approved.
Thank you, folks.
Yes, please make sure you fill out page, case number 2, that is split vote, and case number 10. So please put add your comments for leaving tonight.
Northeast there.